The use of high fructose corn syrup goes back to around the late 1950s, but would not be introduced to the public until the 1970s because the new sweetener would have to be tinkered with and improved. The first commercial shipments of HFCS to food industries wouldn't happen until the late 1960s.
The primary sweetener used before high fructose corn syrup was predominantly cane sugar. However, factors preventing cane sugar from becoming readily available included political problems with countries that produced and provided cane sugar, climate changes, and price conditions.
The use and production of high fructose corn syrup has grown at a rapid pace for the few decades it has been around, which makes it one of the most successful food ingredients in human history. The rise of high fructose corn syrup is due to the fact that it is a dependable, renewable, and abundant resource.
Currently, the U.S. stands at about 29 million Americans with type 2 diabetes aged 20 and older, about 1.5 million Americans suffering from cardiovascular disease, and more than 35% of all Americans are obese or overweight. All can be traced back to a case of overconsumption of high fructose corn syrup. Sodas are the most popular among adolescents in the U.S. and were the biggest source of calories of any food/beverage group among 14 through 18-year-olds in 2005 to 2006. The U.S. has an overproduction of corn syrup and corn in general. The United States is the single largest consumer of high fructose corn syrup. About 511 million bushels of corn are used to produce these sugars. Corn is made into high fructose corn syrup, which is then used in beverages, processed foods, cereals, and other bakery items, and many other food industries in the U.S. This is because it is cheap and readily available to many companies. Americans, on average, eat about 55 pounds of high fructose corn syrup a year. Due to its availability within its food we eat, there has been a spike in sugar-related illnesses. High fructose corn syrup has now been linked with many diseases, such as type 2 diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and cardiovascular diseases.
The American Diabetes Association recommends that people should avoid intake of sugar-sweetened beverages to help prevent diabetes. Sugar-sweetened beverages include regular soda, fruit punch, fruit drinks, energy drinks, sport drinks, sweet tea, and other sugary drinks. An ordinary soda of 20 ounces is sweetened with 16 teaspoons of sugar derived from high fructose corn syrup. 16 teaspoons of high fructose corn syrup is more than twice the amount the American Heart Association has recommended for women who are advised to intake less than 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day. Men, on the other hand, should consume less than 9 teaspoons of added sugars a day. It is estimated that the average American consumes nearly 39 pounds of excess sugar every year just from drinking sweetened beverages. Many people do not know the danger of excessively sweetened drinks. In fact, it is very likely that some people do not know the amount of sugar they are supposed to consume every day. Within the past 30 years, soda consumption has doubled and adult diabetes rates have tripled. Therefore, the only effective solution for America is government intervention by limiting the amount of added sugars beverage companies are allowed to supplement our drinks and diets with. Walter Willett, a professor of nutrition and epidemiology at the Harvard School of Public Health, claims that if America were trying to ensure high rates of obesity, heart disease, or diabetes in its population, we would feed ourselves large doses of sugar drinks. He also believes that evidence is so strong that it is essential that FDA uses its authority to make sugar drinks safer. Willett and his colleagues at Harvard have conducted studies that demonstrate that gout, a type of arthritis, obesity, heart disease, and diabetes are largely correlated to the ingestion of sugary drinks. Willett is a member of 41 noteworthy scientists and physicians who all strongly support a petition that the Center for Science in the Public Interest, along with other organizations, have proposed to the government as a reasonable matter to reduce the health-threatening sugar consumption levels that Americans intake. Center for Science in the Public Interest sent a petition titled Safe Use of Added Sugars to the USDA's Commissioner, Margaret Hamburg, in February of 2013. The petition clarified the dangers of high doses of sugar and also stated the actions that CSPI requested. CSPI's petition includes the following in their solution involving government intervention and companies' comprehension and cooperation. FDA should enforce rules to ensure that the content of sucrose and high fructose corn syrup in beverages is limited to safe levels consistent with authoritative recommendations. With respect to sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, and other added sugars, the FDA should revise the sugars line on nutrition fact labels to address added sugars. The FDA should also conduct a public education campaign to encourage consumers to consume less added sugars. Finally, the FDA should work with the food industry, government, and local agencies to encourage reduced use of consumption and added sugars by limiting the sale of oversized beverages containing added sugars in restaurants and from vending machines.
40% of hospitals sell soda in the lobby, and nearly 100% of all fast food restaurants, convenience stores, and gas station food markets sell soda. There are several pros and cons of our solution. Companies, restaurant stores, fast food corporations, and hospitals, to name a few, will lose revenue from the drastic decrease of sales that contain high fructose corn syrup, specifically soda. Soda fountains bringing significant profit for these companies. Money is the motive for many corporations, and if we restrict them from selling high money-making products, they will protest and try to fight against it, being that they make upwards of at least 80% profit on soda sales. As for consumers, they prefer to pick and choose whatever they want to eat and drink without restrictions or limitations. If we restrict and limit what they can buy, this would cause an uproar because, as we know, Americans love to indulge and overconsume unhealthy products. Many of the consumers that prefer to drink soda have formed these habits as children and have passed this habit onto their children. This cycle will continue if something does not change. Of course, these drinks are a delicious, cold, sugary, sweet treat, but they should be a treat rather than an everyday drink. The positives that could come from our proposed solution are much more significant. Limiting the size of drinks available for purchase and/or substituting soda for more healthful beverages will promote better health for our growing nation and future generations. Reducing the overconsumption of high fructose corn syrup will reduce illness and therefore reduce the cost of medicine and treatments due to illness such as diabetes, which are directly related to the overconsumption of added sugars. Similarly, the percentages of adolescents ages 12 to 19 years old who are obese increased nearly 16% over the same period. These both are official reports from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. If fast food chains change their menus to serve more healthful foods and drinks, this will allow parents to feel better about what they're feeding their kids, which in return will promote a healthier lifestyle for the children's futures and decrease the obesity epidemic, which leads to diabetes. Recorded in 2013, including all ethnicities in both sexes, 2,596,993 people were reported with the cause of death being diabetes in America. Reducing the size of drinks and regulating the amount of high fructose corn syrup added into drinks could remedy many health issues that our nation faces and would foster a brighter future and longer healthy living generations.
If safe and acceptable levels of corn sugars were to be regulated, then we would see a massive increase in the overall nutritional value of our nation's food and drink products. This is due to the fact that when an excess amount of sugars such as high fructose corn syrup, aspartame, and maltodextrin are added to our food and drink, then they end up diluting the raw vitamins and nutritional calories from food, essentially replacing them with empty calories that the body cannot do anything with, so they just get converted to fat. In order for our solutions to hold any weight in the future, then this would mean that the major government organizations such as the USDA and the FDA must recognize that the level of health-related diseases are directly correlated to the rise in artificial sugars such as high fructose corn syrup.
Now, we're not saying to go cold turkey or to stop eating sweets or stop drinking Coke, but if you still choose to, at least you got the facts.